Hello all. Till last week we have been seeing a few things through theory. We talked about validation set, we also talked about k-fold cross validation, then jackknife method, bootstrap method. Of course, we are going to discuss few more pros and cons and comparisons of all these methods in theory. But I thought just to get a feel of it, let's try to do those things using R today. Okay. One small point, jackknife method is also known as leave one out cross validation. LOOCV. Okay, leave one out cross validation. Okay, so today what we'll be doing is we'll be focusing on jackknife and bootstrap using R, and if time permits then I'll go to k-fold cross validation also using R. Otherwise k-fold cross validation we will do separately. Okay. Now one small point, now that you are in the third semester, I don't mind if you use R Studio instead of plain R. Okay. So let us first get introduced to the R Studio window. So when you open R Studio, you see three sub windows. Okay. So this is the main console. This is environment history and connections, and this is file plot package help viewer tab. Just like R, we would need an editor file. So I can go here and open a new R script. Okay. Sometimes what happens is your old saved files also get opened here when you open R Studio. In fact, you can see here, I have not yet done anything in my current session of R Studio. Still, I can see some data from the past. Okay. Hence, it's a good practice to clear the window at the beginning. You can see a broom here. So it says clear objects from the workspace. Okay. So if I click that, it asks me whether I'm sure that I want to remove everything. We'll say yes. Okay. So now I have four windows. Here in console window also, you have some interesting information. This is a version information. You should notice this. You should always try to notice what is the version of the R that you are currently using, because sometimes some commands or some arguments might change from version to version. Then here, this thing. R is a collaborative project with many contributors. Type contributors for more information and citation on how to cite R or R package in publications. Okay. So whenever you use R for doing any project, ideally in the end, when you prepare a list of references, you should cite R also. Okay, we are freely using R. The least that we can do is give the credit that the creators desire. We can see the current list of contributors. Of course, contributors keep on changing, but there is something called as core team. So see, here when I type contributors, I am getting some information. R was initially written by Robert Gentleman and Ross Yaka, also known as R&R. Okay, Robert and Ross. They were from University of Auckland, and since mid 1997 there has been a core group with write access to the R source, and this is a current list of core groups. I think there must be some Indian in here. Dipayan Sarkar probably, yes, yeah. Dipayan Sarkar is there. He is a professor from ISI. So these are the core group people who have, complete write access in R. Plus, these are the people who have left. Initially they were there, but they have left. Okay. Plus, every package has its own authors. Okay. So if you want to cite a particular package, you can get the details for that package. So for example, I can say citation. When I just say citation, I get citation for base R, that is the R core team. Okay. So this is how you should list in the list of references. And when I give citation with some package name, so let me try some package name. ggplot2. See, ggplot2 is a package which is for graphics, intelligent graphics, interesting graphics. So it's a package written by this person, Wickham, Hadley Wickham. Okay, so you can get all the details of any package. In fact, see the basic mass package that we use. It has been written by these two people, Venables and Ripley, Brian Ripley. So all such citations you should note down. Whenever you use some package, you should note down the corresponding citation and list it at the end. Okay. So yeah, another important point, you can now use packages. In multivariate practicals, I insisted on using basic commands to construct your own codes. For example, even though principal components can be computed directly using printcomp and prcomp, we did not use that in exam. In exam, we restricted ourselves to using eigenvalues and eigenvectors command. Okay. However, that was, because I wanted to make sure that you understand the methods behind those tools. So now that, assuming you have learned things you are supposed to learn, so you are now allowed to use the direct commands that are available in R and also the required packages for them. Okay, so that in data mining, whenever you do any assignment or practical component of the exam, you are free to use RStudio. Okay, I don't mind if you use RStudio. In fact, I would encourage you to use RStudio. Why? I mean, what is the advantage of RStudio over R? One of the basic advantages is RStudio prompts you the commands. Okay, see, for example, here I started typing 1 and it prompted me, okay, do I want to write one-way.test? So I don't need to remember the complete command with, capital and small. Sometimes, there are capital small versions also. For example, there is see this const optim. I always forget that only O is capital, C is not capital. Okay. So such details you can afford to forget if you are using RStudio. You can't do it in R. Okay. In fact, it gives you arguments also. Theta, what are the arguments and order? Theta, F, grad, UI, CI, mu, control, etc. So it's very helpful while typing the commands. This is first reason why you can go for RStudio. Second reason of going for RStudio is the graphs in RStudio. In R, generally the graphs get overwritten, whereas in RStudio you can scroll through graphs. So if I do say, for example, plot 1 to 10, PCH equal to 1 to 10. So I got some graph. Now I want to go further and plot something else. So I want to see histogram of normal distribution with sample size 100. I got another graph. But you can see here I can go back and check this graph. Even if I have forgotten to save it, I can save it. Saving is also more convenient from here, especially when you are talking about individual graphs. You get two options, save as image, PDF. In save as image, you can change the size here. Okay, if you want to make it say square, you can change the size here. So right now, this is 706, 362. If I make it 362, 362. It doesn't happen. It made 362, 185 because this maintain aspect ratio is ticked. Maintain aspect ratio means the ratio of width to height. If I untick this and now if I try to make both as 362, let's see what happens. See, it has become a square now. Okay. So if you want, you can do these changes easily from here. Where to save directory you can change from here, and of course the name of the file. These are the types of files in which you can save: PNG, JPEG, TIFF, BMP, megafile, SVG, EPS. Okay, so saving graphs is easier. If you don't want to go back and see all the graphs, you can simply click this clear all plots and your plotting window would be clear. Okay, installing packages is also easier. You can go to package here. You have two buttons, install and update. The list of current packages would get populated here. It's taking some time, I think. Yeah, see the list of packages which are already installed in my system I can find here. If I want to load those packages, I can simply tick the package name here. The package gets loaded. Remember, there is a difference between loading and installing. Loading of a package is basically you already have the package in your system, you are just bringing it in the current console. Whereas installing a package means you don't have that package in your system as of now. From the internet you want to install it. So you can say install, and I don't know, Vegan, for example, there is a package called Vegan. So I can say install from the basic CRAN repository, and install to which library. I am considering the default library. Okay, one small point I missed to tell you. Let me go back and tell you. See, there is a small box here, install dependencies. Every package in R might have some dependencies. What do I mean by dependencies? When you, so let me open some R window, sorry, R package help. So we were installing Vegan, right? So Vegan package CRAN. What is CRAN? CRAN is comprehensive R archive network. Okay, so everything related to R gets updated on CRAN. So now this is a package. Vegan is a community ecology package, ordination method, diversity analysis and other functions for community and vegetation ecologists. So now here you can see the detail. So this is the version, package version. It depends on these two packages, permute and lattice. What does it mean? It means that for the functions in Vegan to run, I need some functions from permute package and I need some functions from lattice package. Hence, if I want to use Vegan package properly, I need to have these two functions in these two packages in my system. Okay, so when we say install dependencies, are automatically installed permute and lattice so that I won't have any problem later. And then you can see a reference manual here. Okay, vegan.pdf. Now homework for you is to check the difference between depends, imports and suggests. So there are three types of dependencies actually. So three ways in which a package can depend on other packages. So depends, imports, suggests. In fact, in some cases there is reverse depends also. I am here, it is not there, but okay, enhances is also there. This is one more, enhances, and in some cases there is reverse depends also. So your homework is check all these things. Check what is meant by depends, imports, suggests, what are the difference between these, then enhances and reverse. And you can see here packages are not hyperlinked, whereas these are hyperlinked. Earlier what was the case? Was everything hyperlinked? No, some are hyperlinked, some are not hyperlinked. So you have to check this also, why some packages are hyperlinked and why they are not. Okay, see, you need not find answers immediately, keep looking. It's not a technical question, you have to kind of Google or trial and error, explore and experiment. Okay, so try to think about these points and let me know as soon as you get some answer. Okay, I'm not promising anything right now, but let's see how many people respond, and if very few respond, then maybe I can give something to the correct respondents. Okay, so this is about installing a package in R. You can see here that the package was successfully unpacked and MD5 sums checked. However, if you want to use multiple packages, then manually installing them may not be very tempting. So sometimes you can download the zip packages and you can uninstall them, you can unzip them and then install them via package archive files. In fact, you don't need to unzip. R will automatically take care of unzipping. But if you want to see what all is there in a package setup, you can unzip and explore. Okay. in R or in RStudio, if you want to install packages like this by clicking and all via the CRAN repository, then you will need access to internet continuously. If you don't have access to internet, then you have to resort to this downloaded versions, means you have to download when you have internet and then install via zip packages. So what to do with the dependencies? What you can do is download multiple packages. So let me go back here. So suppose I download all these things. Let me create a folder on the desktop. Okay, I cannot save directly as this because it's opening its PDF or HTML page. Fine. See, so now I want to download the zip version of this package. Generally, R release is the safest version. Okay, R release. This is old release and this is developing. So this may be currently undergoing changes. So basically R release zip file. Let me save it in this folder. So this is package permute. Then I want package lattice also. See, reverse depends, reverse imports, so many packages are there. Reverse suggests. So please try to see meaning of all these and let me know. Maybe you can prepare a small write-up or small audio explaining the meaning of each of these terms and share it with me. Okay, so permute, lattice, and let us say this MGCV. Okay. Now installing them in R is easier. So let me close RStudio. Anyway, RStudio runs with R as its core. So whatever changes I do in R, they get automatically reflected in RStudio. So let me go to R. Oh, by the way, I assumed that you know how to install RStudio. You have to have R installed in the system. Better to go for latest R and then go to RStudio website and check the basic version, which is free. So let me open the latest R 3.6.1. Latest means whatever latest I have on my system. So if I want to install multiple packages, I can go to package, install packages from local files, select the folder, and then I can select all these 3 packages. Okay. So see, lattice, MGB, permute, everything is successfully unpacked and MD5 sums checked. It means that the packages have been installed successfully. Okay. So these were some basics about RStudio and R. Now we have to go for actual actual simulation studies using RStudio. See, what is a simulation study? We did a couple of simulation studies in multivariate. For example, when we were checking this distribution of quadratic form in multivariate normal vector, bivariate normal vector to be precise. So we drew 50 samples, I think, or 100 samples, and then we computed the chi-square test statistic to check goodness of fit. Okay, and then we saw that in roughly 5% of the cases it gets rejected. Okay, so all these things are done via simulation studies, estimating or guessing whether the type 1 error estimate is correct or not, whether the confidence interval is behaving correctly. Behaving correctly means whether it is actually providing the desired amount, that is something like 95% of coverage and so on, or deciding whether a particular test is having enough power. Power means, you remember, probability of rejecting H naught when it is actually false. So all these things can be studied via simulations only, because in real life you never know whether your test ideally should get accepted or rejected, because if you have that data you won't be carrying out the test. So in such cases simulation studies are better. Here in general, when we do fitting of model, we won't do any simulation studies, but you should know things about simulations because they kind of help you get more confidence in your methods and more clarity in what is happening exactly. Okay. So let me now start with what I want to do. So jackknife and bootstrap and that type of stuff. So what we'll do is, for the time being, let us try to do bootstrap and jackknife in a regression setup, maybe, and in some usual IID setup. Okay, so we will do it in two things. Let us decide what to do here and what as homework. So let me first start with usual IID stuff. Okay, so suppose I have a sample coming from exponential. Let me take another illustration because my p key doesn't work. Exponential, every time I'll have to use p and it doesn't work. So I don't want normal, maybe gamma. Okay, so let me take the sample size to be 100. Okay, 100, the key doesn't work. 0 key also doesn't work. So the sample size is 99. I want a sample of size 99 from gamma with say parameters 1 1. Okay, scale and shape. You should be careful what is scale, what is shape, how they are related to mean and so on. Okay, so I am taking a sample from gamma and now I want to get median of this. So I know this is median of x. And I have forgotten the asymptotic theory, so I don't know how to get confidence interval for median. So I am going to use either jackknife or bootstrap. Okay. Let me first do jackknife. So in jackknife, what we discussed is, it is leave one out cross validation. Means every time I will keep one observation aside and I'll compute median on the basis of rest. That becomes my first jackknife estimate of median. We do this exercise for all p and using those values, we do this exercise for all n, and using all these n values we can get confidence interval or variance of the estimate. Okay. So I have n equal to 99 and I am going to get one median for each of the subsamples. So I am defining a blank vector here. Now for I in 1 to n, okay, here I can't find a substitute, I have to use colon. So for I in 1 to n, okay, looks like the infection is spreading. Earlier it was just p and 0, now this key has also become inactive, so the infection is spreading from neighboring keys. Fine. Okay, now for every I will keep ith observation aside and then I'll compute median of the remaining observations. Okay, so what I'll do is, med at I is simply median of the original sample with ith observation removed. So it is minus I. Okay, median of the original sample with ith observation removed. Is everyone with me so far? So now from the same sample I have n values of median. Okay, you can see here there is not much of a difference, 7526 to 7586. Okay, if I decrease my sample size, what happens? If my sample size is just 9 instead of 99. So, you can see here the variation. Here when my sample size was 99, the variation in the values of median is very low. Okay, it starts from 0.7526 and goes till 0.7586. Whereas now my sample size is only 9, so see the variation. It starts from 0.77 and it reaches 1.26. Okay, so this is what you already know. As n increases, the estimate becomes better and better. In a sense, it goes closer and closer to the actual value. Now here I have summary of made means I have a vector of lengths, so I can compute variance of that. Okay, the formula for variance of jackknife, the theoretical formula variance for variance of jackknife estimate is slightly different than simply the variance of these. So we will see that in a theory class. But I hope you got at least what is meant by jackknife. Okay, what we are exactly doing here when we do jackknife. Okay, so from a given sample I am getting multiple estimates, and I can use those multiple estimates to construct confidence interval or to study the variance of the estimate and so on. So this was jackknife. What do we do in non-parametric bootstrap? Okay, so let me save it later. So now I want non-parametric bootstrap. So we know that non-parametric bootstrap works on the principle of sampling with replacement. So x I already have. From this same x I am going to draw multiple samples of size n. Okay, let me go back to n equal to 99. So I will draw multiple samples of size n from x, because now I have to forget that I know the distribution. I just have x coming from somewhere and I want to see what happens to say median of x. Okay, so what I'll do is, see, I don't need to really store the bootstrap samples. What I need to store is just the value of the median, okay, the estimate. So let me call it med star, because bootstrap estimates are generally denoted by star, and capital B, let it be 2000. So capital B is how many bootstrap samples you want. Okay, now for I in 1 to B, okay, for I in 1 to B, every time I am going to compute the median, okay, for each of the B samples. So first I need a bootstrap sample. So let me call it as S. So S is a sample with sample size equal to n, and it is coming from x. Okay, it is coming from x, and we will say replace equal to true, because if we don't replace, it would give me an error that you cannot have a sample, multiple samples of same size. Okay, it won't give me error, but we will get exactly same sample every time, which doesn't make any sense. Okay, let me see here. Okay, I want to check if some values are repeated in S. How can I do that? Let me repeat my question. I want to check if some of the values are repeated in S. How can I do that? Correct. You can compute length of unique of S earlier and after, Actually earlier is anyway mostly going to be non-repeated, so that is x will mostly be non-repeated because we are talking of continuous distributions. So I need to put my bracket here. Okay, sorry. So I want to check what is the length of unique of S. Okay, there is some problem probably. Can anyone identify what the problem is? I am getting only one observation here. Why? So let me go to the sample command, help of the sample command. So you have to give n first, that is correct. But this is for sample integer. So in general you have to give the vector first and then the number. So right now what happened is it chose from n. Okay, and hence only one value. Okay. So now let us see how many observations are repeated. So length of unique of S is just 9 because, okay, 1 second. Yeah, length of unique of S is 63. 63. So out of 99 observations, many got repeated. So I have only 63 unique observations. Okay. Let us confirm if X had all 99 as unique. See, X had all 99 as unique because it's coming from infinite population. So the having ties is very unlikely. Whereas now, while drawing the bootstrap samples, my population is kind of like X. So X becomes my population. So I have a finite population. As a result, ties would be there. Repetitions would be there. Is it okay? Okay. So now that we have a sample, you have to compute median. So we will just say med at I equal to median of S. Okay. Is it clear to everyone what we are trying to do? Okay, let me run this. Okay, I've given the name med star. Then why to use? And now I can see maybe histogram of med star to give you some idea about the distribution of this parameter. You can see it is not very great. It is slightly skewed. Okay. So it probably cannot be approximated by normal distribution. Okay. So this is how we do non-parametric bootstrap.